History of my oldest ancestors of whom I am very proud descend. August 24th, 1113, Geoffrey V Plantagenet, my 29th grandfather, 3 times my grandfather, Earl of Anjou, Duke of Normandy and Earl of Maine, founder of the Plantagenet dynasty of the Kings of England and grandfather of the Kings of England, Richard Leon, is born Hart and John Landless, 6th grandfather of Dom Dinas, King of Portugal. Geoffrey V Plantagenet, Count of Anjou, Duke of Normandy and Count of Maine, born August 24, 1113, and died in Loire, September 7, 1151, was the son of Fulcus V, Count of Anjou, King of Jerusalem, and Ermengarda de Beaugency, Countess of Maine, paternal grandson of Fulco IV, Count of Anjou and Bertrande de Montfort, and maternal grandson of Elias I, Lord of La Flèche, Count of Maine and Matilda of the Castle of Loire and Mayet. Geoffrey V of Anjou, called Plantagenet, was Count of Anjou and Maine and Duke of Normandy. He was the son of Count Fulco V, Count of Anjou, King of Jerusalem and Ermengarda, heiress of Maine. Biography. Geoffrey succeeded his father in the county of Anjou in 1129 when he became King of Jerusalem. His epithet Plantagenet comes from the French Plantagenet, broom plant, and refers to the shrub he chose as his personal symbol. Later the nickname came to designate an entire dynasty of kings of England. He founded the Plantagenet dynasty, which included Kings Richard Lionheart and John Landless. In 1128, Geoffrey married Matilda, Dowager Empress of the Holy Empire and Crown Princess of England, daughter of the King of England and Duke of Normandy Henry I. The choice of the bride, 11 years his senior, was made as part of the peace negotiations between England, particularly the Duchy of Normandy, and the County of Anjou. The marriage proved stormy but produced 3 sons, Henry, future Henry II, King of England and father of Richard Lionheart and John Landless, Geoffrey and William. On the death of their father, Henry I of England in 1135, Matilda and Geoffrey were overtaken in the race for the English throne by their cousin Stephen of Blois, Earl of Bellona. The usurpation gave rise to the civil war known as the Anarchy that ravaged England between 1135 and 1153. One of the reasons for Matilda's rejection as sovereign was Godfrey himself who, as an Angevin, was detested by all Norman nobles. Geoffrey's role in the war in England was secondary. The army of Anjou essentially focused on maintaining and conquering squares in the Duchy of Normandy, then an English possession. Even when Matilda needed reinforcements from England, Geoffrey always refused to abandon the Norman project. This may have been one of the reasons for the long duration of the conflict, since, with the help of the Angevins, Stephen of Blois could have been deposed more quickly. However, the possession of Normandy was one of the factors that led to the designation of Henry Plantagenet, Henry II, King of England, my 28th grandfather, 3 times my grandfather, as Stephen's successor. The constant threat of revolts in Anjou may also have been a reason why Geoffrey decided not to intervene in England, combined with his unpopularity in this country. Godfrey of Anjou, Plantagenet, died on September 7, 1151, and is buried in Le Mans Cathedral, France. The Plantagenets, my ancestors. The Plantagenets originate from the county of Anjou, currently part of France, and come to power in England through the marriage of Geoffrey V Plantagenet, Count of Anjou, founder of the dynasty, with Matilda of England, the heir of Henry I. The first Plantagenet king was Henry II, my 28th grandfather, 3 times my grandfather, their son. The Plantagenet dynasty is a branch of the Anjou dynasty, to which Geoffrey belonged. In addition to England and its French possessions, the Plantagenets ascended the throne of Sicily in the 12th century and acquired domains in the eastern Mediterranean, participating in military actions as part of the Crusades. From this set of territories under the possession of the same dynasty comes the term Angevin Empire. The end of the Plantagenet dynasty is considered by English historians to have occurred in 1485, when its last sovereign, Richard III, of the York dynasty, was killed at the Battle of Bosworth Field. However, the direct branch became extinct with the deposition of Richard II in 1399 by Henry IV, when England began to be governed by a secondary branch of the Plantagenet dynasty, the Lancaster dynasty, which would rule the kingdom until 1471, when the York dynasty, another branch of the Plantagenets, assumed power in the context of the Wars of the Roses. This in turn would be taken from power by the Tudor dynasty in 1485, the year that marked the end of the Plantagenet dynasty. Kings and members of the Plantagenet dynasty: Henry II, Richard the Lionheart, John Landless, Henry III, Edward I, Edward II, Edward III, Richard II. Other members of the dynasty: Edward Plantagenet, the Black Prince, Edmund of Langley, Duke of York, Edward Plantagenet, Duke of York, Dona Philippa de Lancaster, Queen Consort of Dom João I, King of Portugal, Henry Plantagenet the Younger, Geoffrey Plantagenet, Duke of Brittany, John of Ghent, Duke of Lancaster and Aquitaine, Lionel of Antwerp, Duke of Clarence, Thomas of Woodstock, Earl of Essex and Buckingham. Family and descent: Godofredo V Plantagenet married Matilda of England, my 29th grandmother, 3 times my grandmother, with whom he had. Henry II, King of England, married to Eleanor of Aquitaine, Duchess of Aquitaine, Queen of France and Queen of England, my 28th grandparents, 3 times my grandparents. Godofredo VI of Anjou, Count of Anjou and Nantes. William of Anjou, Count of Poitou. Outside of marriage, he had 2 natural children whose mothers' names were not recorded in history. Hamelino Plantagenet, Count of Surrey, married to Isabel de Varennes. Emma Plantagenet married to Guido for degrees de Laval, Lord of Laval.